Welcome into Emerald and Lilywhite. This is episode 46. And frankly, this is an episode that I've been waiting uh, 14 years for at this point because we have won a trophy and we get to podcast about it. I'm your host, Scott. With me, as always, is Max at Going Limbs. Max, what's up, man?
Yeah, dude, we finally did it. I can't believe it, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, probably the happiest podcast we'll ever do. So yeah, just here to enjoy it. What a week for Tottenham.
No doubt, 100%. With us also, Robbie at Robbie Light. What's up, man?
Not much. We did it, and all of us know. A bunch of us spent this entire morning Friday spending 4+ hours watching the live stream of the parade. So fresh off the vibes.
Let's go. And with us, glad to have him back on the show after a couple weeks off. We got Alex Chang at Alex Chang with an X instead of an A. What's up, man?
What's up? All I can say is same time next year, right? So hopefully it's the Champions Leagues.
Let's go. Chang, I'm gonna stick with you. I know you're a little short on time today. Before we get into any of this, I just want to ask you two questions. I want to ask you first, what was your experience watching this match? I know you and Max had a chance to get together at Rubens. So walk me through what that was like for you. And then I also just want to know what this means to you. Robbie had the wonderful idea off air of going through and each discussing what this really meant to us winning the final. So that's where I want to start things off.
Yeah, so first off at Rubens, shout out to them for hosting, obviously. But I was there with Max and also Keegan, who couldn't make it today. But honestly, the atmosphere was amazing. Chants the entire time, 90 minutes, even after especially after the game. I think everybody's going crazy. And honestly, it was nothing. I mean, I've been to the stadium for a game, but the atmosphere was crazy just for watching here because sometimes it's hard to find a lot of Tottenham fans, to be honest, because I feel like Tottenham are pretty looked down upon. So who wants to be caught being a Tottenham fan? So I think seeing so many people joined under Tottenham and having everybody there was cheering for Tottenham. When I watched my friends, they're hate watching the fuck out of Tottenham. So actually seeing people cheer when we do something good and it was just incredible, honestly. And it was super fun. And I was really sick that day, so I almost didn't make it. But ultimately I'm super glad I did. And second off, what it means to me, it's for a while I genuinely this football club could be cursed. Will I ever see a trophy? And I think that the mentality shift, and it was getting to the point where even when we went into a final, I'd be oh, we're probably not gonna win. We actually could just be cursed. So I honestly didn't think I'd ever see something like it. And when the final whistle blew, it genuinely felt surreal because we did it 17 years. It was crazy. So
no doubt. Well said. Max, same thing to you, man. I know you were able to watch with Chang, but same question.
Yeah. Rubens was absolutely electric. Yeah, I won't forget. I mean, the scenes after Johnson scored, me and Chang were in the way back. So, and we were watching on a projector, but we couldn't see the nitty-gritty details. So I honestly had no idea Johnson scored until he started running to the corner flag. And then everyone just went nuts. It was absolute scenes. And then, yeah, the Van de Ven clearance, there's just moments from the game where I'm really grateful that I was able to watch with a bunch of people. It's definitely, and then the full time whistle, I'll never forget that. Like Chang said, that feeling was crazy, man. I've had my teams in other sports. I've been lucky enough to see a couple World Series in my life. And yeah, it was up there, man. Because like Chang said, it never really ever felt like we were going to do it. In my whole experience as a Spurs fan. So yeah, I'd say what it meant to me. Yeah, that's why we do that's why we do this, right? Like that's why we follow sports and yeah, it was incredible. And yeah, it really it means a lot, especially for us. Like I know we all wake up crack of dawn for years. And why am I low-key getting emotional right now? I was not that emotional at full time, but talking about it right now, like it's just like it's something you never forget. So yeah, I'm really, really happy.
No doubt, man. Really well said. Really well said. Robbie, this is your question. Same thing. Obviously, I want to hear it from you.
Yeah, no, I was bummed to not be able to make it to Rubens. I'm still sick. And I was like, that really bummed me out because I'm someone who's moved around the country a lot. All of my sports teams, and Max is kind of the same way, are like really far away. So I've spent my whole life watching a lot of sports alone or going to games as an away fan or, just not really having a community. And Seattle Spurs has been great. So I was really looking forward to that. But at the same time, Keegan and I both joked in the chat, like, was so stressed the whole game that like being in public may not have been great either, or like especially if we lost, like I would have been like, why the hell am I here right now? Like get me home. Like I don't want to be in public. But yeah, watching it on my couch was still an incredible watch. I didn't even know Johnson scored, and I was watching on a 65-inch OLED TV. So it was like it was hard to tell for a couple seconds what happened. But yeah, no, it was incredible. And what it means to me, I don't remember if I ever gave my story about how I became a Tottenham fan. I won't share the full story, but I really started picking it up in about 2017 when I lived with someone who was a Liverpool fan. And I became a Tottenham fan before I understood the tactical side of soccer. And I still really don't fully comprehend it. Like I played soccer till I was like 12, but that doesn't count. That you don't learn anything until you're much older. And so like I was watching games not really knowing what's happening. And over those years, I've really learned and picked up on it. But yeah, I picked Tottenham knowing they were a team that fell short in big moments. Like I read an article when US got the streaming rights on NBC Sports, and it was like if you like the Wisconsin Badgers or the University of Michigan, teams who usually go to the big game and then blow it all, and Michigan's since won, but Wisconsin's blown it one more time. Pick Tottenham, and so that's what I've lived through. And it was always like, oh, but they're going to do it eventually, right? And then every year passes, they're going to do it eventually, right? And then another year passes, they're going to do it. And we've all lost hope. We've all questioned everything. We've all like, hell, this season itself, the way that we won this trophy is the most Tottenham way possible. Like I had this trip planned. I went to the stadium this year. I went to a Europa League match this year. And the week that I was flying there, we were talking about firing Ange Postecoglou. Like it was literally the lowest of all lows. I even like almost started crying in my living room because I was like, I'm about to spend thousands of dollars on this trip and I don't even want to go anymore because we're going to fire our manager and we're going to suck. Like it's just going to be like terrible. And then I went to the game and we won that game 3-0 with 3 young players scoring goals, including Mikey Moore's first ever goal. And it's like, okay, we're back. And then we started losing a ton more games again. And it was like, we're going to fire Ange Postecoglou. And then all of a sudden, bam, we win a trophy. Like at no point were we ever comfortable. Like we were never the favorites. We were never, I mean, like maybe in Europa League, people claimed we were the favorites, but we were always like, but United, but Bilbao, but whatever. Yeah. So the way that we won this trophy, the path to our trophy and the match itself was all the most incredibly Tottenham way to win it. And that's what makes it the most special, I guess. My Liverpool fans were chatting during the game, like, this is such a boring game. And I was like, if this was Liverpool, you guys would be like, this is such a defensive battle, hard fought tactical match.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's just because it's Spurs, it's boring and it sucks and it's, whatever. But we won. That's all that matters. And that's all that we get to say that forever and ever now. And hopefully we win trophies again so we can keep saying it, but nothing matters.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like a huge part of why everyone says it was a shit game is because it's 16th versus 17th. But finals are always super pragmatic and slow. And nobody, especially in the first half. So, yeah, I'll get to my bit there in a second on how I watched and what it means to me. But I want to come to Chang again before he has to get out of here. I guess kind of what I'm wondering is from your perspective, how does this shift your mentality of what being a Spurs fan means? And I know we talked about like, what does this mean to you? But I'll take it a little bit further. We've all had a certain feeling, or again, just perspective on what it means to be a Spurs fan, and undoubtedly that has changed. So I want to hear from you on what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so I think like it's like climbing a mountain, kind of like once you've been to the top, like you can get there. So I feel like that mentality really transitions over. Like we've been to the top, like we can get there again. And I think that like that's such a difference from the fact that like we hadn't been there. Like, can we ever get there? Like we've been there, we know we can do it. And I think that is really something that like it's gonna like carry through, and I hope that this signals a change in the club, like the mentality around it. It's like we're no longer those serial losers. Like we can win. And I think that it's like always been within us, but now it's like fully realize it. Like each of these players now knows like, yeah, we can do it. Whereas before it's always been like, oh, I play for Tottenham. Like we're gonna lose. Like I think that like that really carries through like throughout the fans, and I hope and I believe that it'll like carry through in the players as well. So
Yeah, well said. And the media too, right, Chang? I mean, there's been such an easy narrative to paint around Spurs and the word Spursy and all of that. I asked the question maybe in our group chat after the match, what is the media going to do now? Like, what's going to be their go-to thing to talk about at any given point in time, regardless of whether Spurs are playing? Yeah. So anyways,
well, I would say Gareth Bale made a joke that, which it doesn't make sense because they've won a trophy literally last year, but he was like, maybe the media will start calling it a United-y thing instead of Spursy. But I was like, that's funny, but they also won a trophy last year, so
yeah. But you know what? Like a European Cup feels so much better than like if we would have gotten a League Cup this year or something like that, right? And don't get me wrong, I would have celebrated a League Cup super hard, but this is a fucking European trophy. And people are going to talk about how the competition is a little watered down. Nobody dropped down from the Champions League. I don't care. Like
there would have been a reason. There would have been a reason for it to diminish any trophy we won. Like I joked about this too, but like the Carabao Cup probably would have been the worst trophy for us to win as a first trophy because everyone would have just shit on it immediately.
Yeah.
But even the Europa League, they're finding ways to diminish it or to make it not important. So it doesn't matter. Or if we win the Champions League, it's like, oh well, some of the easier teams got knocked out early, or the harder teams got knocked out early. So no matter what we win, it'll be diminished. But European is definitely better than domestic, Harry Kane.
I mean, now there's fucking 24 teams that go to the UCL knockouts. So do they want us to look at the fucking bottom 8 teams in the UCL this year? Those teams are dog shit. Like genuinely, those teams, even if they did drop down, they wouldn't have made a difference. Like those were really bad teams. It was not like all the big teams in the UCL, because of the new format, made at least the round of 32. It wasn't like there was like juggernauts, like when there was a group of death and the third place team is dropping down. That's not a thing anymore. So like, even if they were to drop down, I don't think it would have mattered that much. Like Frankfurt and Bilbao were like, I'd say, better than a lot of the teams that were in the Champions League as reflected by league position, which I don't know if we care about anymore, but that's just the reality. So like these people that are waffling about it, they just don't understand. They're lost. They're jealous. I think Arsenal fans especially, like, okay, man, like you had a shot against an English team 2019 against Chelsea and you got dog walked. You got knocked out by Olympiacos. You got knocked out by Sporting Lisbon. Like that wasn't that long ago. And that wasn't with a team that was like necessarily bad. Like they had finished 5th and were challenging for the title and they did not get far in the Europa League. So if your team is so good, then why didn't you win it before? That it's just like, it's a moot point, like Robbie said, to belittle Spurs. But I feel like most of the footballing world that is like unbiased, and all of our fan base understands that this is an absolutely colossal achievement. And yeah, and we've had a better season than Arsenal, a better season than Manchester City, Manchester United, and I don't really think it's up for debate, to be honest. We all know what it's like to finish second. We all remember finishing second. Would you rather have finished second or had this season? I'm picking this.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying I'd rather do this than finish second any season. Any season. This was way more finishing second.
Well said. I mean, honestly, I guarantee if I asked anybody at the beginning of the season, would you take 17th place in the Europa League?
You did.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure we did talk about
podcast. That. You did, and we were all like, yep.
Yep. And of course, none of us ever thought we'd finish 17th, but here we are, right?
Hey, we're not that. We can go as high as 14th this weekend.
And low-key, you
win and go 14th, yeah.
And honestly, there's another person that was perfectly fine finishing 17th and winning the Europa League, and that James Postecoglou, which he came out and said post-match, like, I'm paraphrasing, but we threw the league because we knew that this was our route to a trophy. Yeah, so shout to Ange. But, Chang, one more thing before you got to run. I know we're running up on the clock for you here.
I got like 4 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, all right, sick. All right, cool. Well, I'm still coming to you.
To go. What was your experience watching the match? What did you do? And then what does it mean to you? I think you're the longest tenured fan.
Yeah, you know, I watched it at home. I will say there's a cool group here in Des Moines, Iowa Spurs. If you're ever in Des Moines, get a hold of them. It's a good group. I was fortunate to be part of Des Moines Spurs back before I moved to Houston in 2016. And that turned into Iowa Spurs. So, like, it's nice to be back. But as you guys know, I've got an almost 10-week-old at home. And so we just watched it at home. We thought about taking him down to the pub. Just a lot for him at this point in time. So we hung out. I had some friends over. My buddy Dave, best friend, best man at my wedding, is a massive Juventino. He's been a Juventus fan since like 2006. So he knows what it's like to be a winner, but also knows through me what it's like to be that nearly team, right? So he came over and watched with me. Super nice to have a good friend around, and his wife. So his wife held the baby the entire match, so we could just focus on the game, which was pretty sick. But yeah, I mean, just a good time. I think honestly, I told you guys this. I was super confident. I just like felt it in my bones that we were going to win this game, and I like wasn't even stressing. It was like a pretty chill experience for me. I think when Johnson scored, I celebrated super hard, but it just kind of felt like what was going to happen. And I wasn't really like too up or down. From like minutes 89 to 94 or whatever, I shit myself without a doubt. And I was like super, super nervous, but for the rest of the match, it was pretty chill. I felt that this was our time, probably because of Ange, because of how the league was going. Just because of all the narratives around Spurs, it just felt like it was our year. So anyways, that led to a pretty chill experience for me. And honestly, what this means for me, I think this changes everything about what like my idea of what it means to be like me, the Spurs fan, not a Spurs fan in general, but like it's almost like your personality changes from the perspective of being a Spurs fan. It's like I support Spurs still, but it's almost like it just feels like almost a different team now. I had a good buddy right after the match ended. We were FaceTiming one of the dudes I play pro clubs with, and he was like, "Boys, we're like a normal team now." Like, and I think what he meant by that is like no one can just like shit all over us just because we're the team to shit all over, right? It's like we're just a normal football club now that wins trophies. And so I think like not that I was ever not proud to be a Spurs fan, but it feels different to watch when you've watched your team lift a European Cup. And honestly, like I think the European Cup's cooler than the Premier League. Maybe not like I'm not comparing Europa League to Premier League. I'd probably take a Premier League title over the Europa League, right? But there's just something about winning a European trophy, and just shout out, it's the third time we've done that as a club. There are other teams in North London who have never.
Technically fourth.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, technically it is the fourth. And
we say 3 because Arsenal actually won the other one, so like it's only 3 and Arsenal has 0.
3-0. Yeah. What was it? The Cup Winners' Cup? Is that the fourth one?
Yeah, it was like it's
Arsenal
not even a trophy. It's not even a real trophy. I don't even know what
have
it's
a Cup Winners' Cup, so we can
Yeah.
wipe our
It's
top
3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-0. They've never won a European.
We have a Cup Winners' Cup too, don't we? We don't count.
Oh yeah, we
I
do.
mean, we
That's our
have
fourth.
it, but we don't brag about it.
Yeah. No big. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say there is a well-respected journalist who works for CBS who I will not name and shame live, but she said in the build-up, Tottenham who have never won a trophy was her direct quote, and then went into the match. And
who was it? Was it Kate?
No, it wasn't Kate.
Okay.
We'll just say that it wasn't Kate.
Is it? What's her name? Emily Luco?
No, it was Anita Jones. Shout out to Anita Jones, but she is a massive gooner. So, yeah. Anyways, never have won a trophy was the quote that I heard in the.
Honestly, like you'd be surprised how many people out there actually think.
People actually think that. Like I saw, like people were posting about like how it was like one of the all English finals, and they were just posting all the all English finals, and one of them was when we won the Europa League. I think 76 against Wolverhampton Wanderers, actually. And then people like saw it. They're like, I was told Spurs didn't have a trophy in the comment section when they were like posting Tottenham had won it back then. They're like, yeah, this is the only fucking sport that does that, by the way. Like every other sport, like no one's taking away like the Jets Super Bowl from 1969.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, dude, they have a Super Bowl. Like no one's like, oh, you don't have any Super Bowls. It was a long time ago. Baseball, bro, the Yankees claimed 27 rings. 20 of those they didn't. It was pre-World War II. It was like not even real. Like, so soccer is the only sport where somehow they've brainwashed the entire generation to thinking that like the past did not exist. Like it's so crazy to me.
What's crazier about all of that is Tottenham is the first English team to ever win a European trophy ever. They were the first. So it was a long time ago, certainly, but.
Hey, we're claiming it. I do think some of that maybe has to do with the fact that the Premier League and Champions League just like inserted themselves into the picture in the early 90s, and I think like some people don't necessarily understand that as well, and that probably adds to some confusion, right?
I don't know why they had to like rename it so that it's like a different thing. Like like the only sport like they're like people talk about Premier Leagues like they were like Liverpool hasn't won a Premier League. They're like the second most decorated club in England. They just had won them like before like Manchester
for the Premier League. Yeah, that shit's crazy too, because like the Premier League went behind the EFL's back and just like started its own league and back channeled to 20 clubs to come join them. Arsenal actually bought their way into the first Premier League. They were in the second division, and like it was kind of like when the Super League tried to start. Like it was like a very similar thing from my understanding, right? And Arsenal low-key didn't get promoted out of the second division, but just paid to join the Premier League. So honestly, anything they've ever done, in my opinion, is null and void and should be washed clean, right? They would never have gotten promoted, but here we are. So, anyways, yeah, crazy little backstory for those who maybe don't know. And then the Champions League did the same exact thing. They said, we're just going to start our own league and we're going to pay you a lot more money. And that's when the Europa League became the second tier competition. But we digress heavily. Chang, I'm coming to you for this, though. Walk me through this moment right here.
Dude, it was honestly like unbelievable. Like he just flew out of nowhere. Because that Vicario bobble was honestly horrible, but no one's ever gonna remember.
We can talk Vicario later. I have some thoughts.
Oh my god, dude, this was unreal, bro. Like what kind of physical specimen do you have to be able to do this? And like to have that, first of all, to have the reaction to get there, like even if like 90% of players were there, I don't think they're clearing it. Like they're not getting up like this.
No.
Like this, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely crazy. Like we already knew Van de Ven was a like athletic monster, but this is just unbelievable. This is next level, and it literally won us the game. So
yeah,
I mean, like this is like I feel like I mean, if this isn't a statue, like, are you kidding me? Like, this is a prime statue opportunity, I'd say.
Well said. Yeah,
Like, I don't know if, like, I'm not saying like Mickey is like deserving of a statue, but it's more about like the moment. Like, I know, like, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Sonny statues in the last couple days, but like, if there's a moment to build a statue around, like, I haven't seen a clearer one than this. Like, that would go so hard outside of the stadium.
Well said, man. And the dude fell right on his hip and got up and battled on. Like he refused treatment. He refused to have any chance of having to be taken out of that match. And I'm sure he's in a lot of pain right now. I mean, I'm sure we've all had like some blow to the hip when we're playing sports, and that shit's brutal. So he looked like he was in a lot of pain, but he sold out for the team. And honestly, Robbie, if that goal goes in, I think United wins. I think they get a second goal.
We were burnt out. Solanke was dead on the pitch.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was like, we need to get Tellin there for Solanke, because I was just like, he is dead. Like, he can't. Credit to him, he was still running. But yeah, absolutely. Well, if we went to extra time, 1000% we were losing that game, because we had a back 10 at that point, and it was like, what are we gonna do if we go to extra time?
Yeah, I mean, Max Ange rolled the fucking dice by bringing Danzo on in the 78th minute or whatever. But he bet on himself. He bet on the plan, and those boys sold out defensively. That was just – people are calling it the Ange wall, right? Ange ball in the first half, Ange wall in the second half, and that was a defensive masterclass, was it not?
No, it was. And yeah, I have a new nickname for Danzo. It's the closer, bro. Like, he's Ariano Rivera. We're bringing him in, 10 minutes to go. When he subbed in, bro, it was night. It was over. I knew we were winning the second I saw Danzo coming on. I was like, we are not getting past with Kevin Danzo on the pitch. He's such a baller. And I'm still voice cracking because from all the screaming that was done on Wednesday. And then he had a fucking awesome interview where they asked him about Arsenal, and he was like, I don't give a fuck about Arsenal. We just won the Europa League. And I was just like,
whatever, dude.
This guy, Danzo, is becoming like one of my favorite players in the whole team. He's awesome.
You back 3 next year? Anybody?
No.
We went down this road with Dragoshin. It's like, just because we have extra players doesn't mean we need to put them all on the field at the same time.
We're not used to having backups.
I know, it's weird, right?
Radu's about to learn 5th string because Luka Vuskovic is coming in, and it's going to be cold.
Hey, if we're going to throw up Ange walls, I don't mind Dragoshin being around for those moments if it's required, right? That dude is going to tower over everybody that on set pieces. But we digress again. I honestly, the other sub I want to talk about, Chang, is Archie Gray. We talked about Danzo, but Archie Gray, I questioned the decision at the time somewhat because
dude, I swear, like everyone, I could just feel it. We're like, really? Like,
yeah.
I was like, Jesus.
Bruno's about to walk this one into the goal. I was like, oh, no.
And I love Archie, so like I hate even saying this, but that was a cold decision by Ange too. I think Ange is the type of dude that's going to look at a struggling 18-year-old and be like, get your fucking ass on the field and win me a football match. And Archie Gray responded. I don't know if you saw the interview today at the parade, Chang, but he was asked, to walk the interviewer, the dude from Spurs play, through his 10 minutes on the pitch. And he said, all I decided was that I was going to run my ass off and make sure Bruno Fernandes couldn't do anything. And I knew if I did that, we were going to win that match. And like, that's just a stone cold mentality from an 18-year-old in a cup final, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Archie has shown like his maturity like throughout the season. I think I heard that he was the only Spurs player who actually went up to every United player, gave his condolences, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think it clearly shows that his mental age is much like farther ahead than like his physical age, obviously. And I think while it's truly been an up and down season, not quite definitely a step down from his quote unquote breakout season last year. and but he's shown like it hasn't gotten to him. Obviously, I think like Max said, a lot of people in that bar probably saw him coming on, and whether it was audible or not, probably let out a little groan. And I think I was definitely one of them, but Ange recognized our midfield needed some legs, and he made the right sub. And like you said, I didn't see the interview, but like you said, Archie just he wanted to go on, run his ass off, and that's all you can really ask at that point in the game. So he knew he didn't have to be a game changer. He just had to do his role. And I think that's a pretty that's a good mentality to have, especially in a team sport like this. Like not everyone's gonna be the superstar. You're not gonna get your moment in the spotlight every single time. But to go onto that pitch and whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 90 minutes, just to play your heart out and to leave everything on that field. And that's what he did, and that's why we won. So with that, I do need to hop off, but thank you for having me again. Come on, you Spurs, and we're going for the Champions League next year, boys.
Come on.
Oh, come on, you Spurs. Take it
All right,
easy,
I'll
bro.
see you all.
Cheers. Max, I also want to talk about this man right here who is forthcoming. Not only we're going to talk about that picture, but before we do, the decision not to start Son, I think was, I'll keep using the word cold, but that was a cold decision for Ange Postecoglou too. And I mean that in a positive way, right? It wasn't like a shitty thing that he did. And I have to believe that Sonny was involved in that decision. And that tells me everything that I need to know about Sonny. But when you saw Sonny wasn't starting, man, what was your reaction?
I mean, I can't say I was like the most pleased with the decision at the time, but like I understood where Ange was coming from, not giving him the start, and it worked because like Richarlison, man, what a performance, dude. Like he was our best attacking player when he was on the pitch by far. Like what he was doing, he was cooking men out there, bro. And the thing about those players is like we need players like Richarlison, like Romero. They know how to win. They know how to play in these games from their international experience in South America, and he knows how to get in the opposition head. And he was clamping Dorgu defensively as well. Picked up a yellow. It was an incredible performance by Richarlison. So I really want to shout him out because people have given this man so much shit over the course of his time at Spurs. And I think like just those 60 minutes that he put in, we paid 60 million pounds for him. Each minute was worth £1 million to me. And that was an immense performance from Richarlison. And then with Sonny, like this tells you like the amount of hate this fucking guy got this year from our fan base is just insane. It's insanity to me. And he wasn't anything special when he was on the pitch. But I think this, like the fact that I agree with you, like he was probably consulted about the starting lineup and was like, whatever you think is best. And he was put on the bench. And I think that's exactly what we can do with him going forward. It's always like he's getting so much hate where like that people are like celebrating when he's hurt and we don't have him starting. Like no one's saying, I don't think he's ever said he wants to start every game and needs to start every game. That's not the type of person he is. So shout out to him. And he was clearly in a huge part of this dressing room, and a lot of people getting on him all season for is he fit to be a captain, etc., etc. I'm just so fucking happy for Son, and I feel like I definitely like on this podcast I defend him way more than I probably should. I'm a lot harder on players other than him just because of what he's done for this club. But when you have a player that just chose Tottenham, like he just chose Tottenham over anything else, and he finally got rewarded for that choice. And he's the captain. He got to lift that trophy in that moment. It's just like an incredible moment. And if there's one person throughout this whole journey that I'm most happy for, it's Heung-min Son. And I think we all probably agree and that he is probably the greatest Tottenham player of modern history. And that's just set in stone now. So yeah, absolute legend.
He came out and said he was a legend too after the match. He said, "You know what? Just let's do it." I completely agree, and I want to pull that picture back up and talk about it. But before we do, I'll just touch on what you said about Sonny coming off the bench next year. I completely agree with you. I think there's a world where you have Sonny and Brennan Johnson available in the 65th minute of matches. I'm all for both of them coming on as subs and just running at tired legs. Brennan's going to be more direct. Sonny's going to be, I don't know, looking to link up a little bit more than Brennan's going to be. And Brennan will be on the end of opportunities later in matches. And it's interesting because I'm sitting here kind of thinking about this live, and I think there's a world where you have Tell, which is going to be an investment, right, which I'll get to, but you have Tell, Solanke, and Odebear across the front with Son, Richarlison, and Brennan Johnson available off the bench. And that's a pretty sturdy front six that I'm fairly comfortable with. And then you've got Mikey Moore as option number 7, if you will, or maybe 3 and 4 on the wings, whatever we want to say, right? I'm starting to think out loud. Like, I think there's a world where you don't have to invest as much up top as we maybe thought we had to at one point in time with the progression of Odebear and then Tell coming in, obviously, as true investment. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later. I want to come back to this picture, Robbie. And I just want us to have an open conversation about Heung-min Son, because he, in my opinion, is the most deserving of anybody on the planet from a footballing perspective of lifting his club's first trophy in 17 years. So I'll give you the floor, man. Talk to me about Sonny.
Yeah, no, I sent a video in the chat where it was in Korean. He did an interview in Korean after the match, but he was basically apologizing that it took so long to win a trophy, which is just insane that he felt he needed to do that. But and he's like, hopefully the people that don't like me, this makes you at least respect me, that I'm apologizing for how long it took.
Yeah.
I think that endears him even more to the fans. I think another interesting counterpoint of this is this was before the match even, I think. And it was on Twitter, and I think it was a United fan or something. And it was a screenshot of Harry Kane, and it was like, Spurs fans need to start treating him the way that we treat some other United player that left or something. And it was like, we're like, why are you guys still so chill with Harry Kane and think he's so awesome when you have someone like Son, who's like living and dying for the club and said he never wanted to play anywhere else? And I think there's a middle ground there of like, maybe we need to just cool it on Harry Kane a little bit, but we don't need to like hate him actively. But like, kind of seeing that Son rise to the top here kind of gives us perspective now of like, yeah, Harry Kane is an incredible individual player, but unfortunately when it came down to it, he saw the door and he took it. And I think that should kind of knock him down a little bit. I'll get to Son. I don't want to twist this into Harry Kane, but I had an open conversation of like, there's that mural of Kane outside of the stadium. And I'm like, yo, did they paint that over and make it a Europa League mural now? Like, because it's the most important moment of our recent history. Like, is it time to just be like, all right, Harry, thanks, on to the next? But yeah, I mean, I use Harry as sort of a juxtaposition of like, Son stayed, and yeah, maybe Son wasn't the leading goal scorer when Kane was here. He was one year that Kane also tried to leave, but Son has put in everything for this club and every ounce of sweat, and he very clearly, this meant something to him. And I also want to very briefly shout out Ben Davis, who's been doing the exact same thing that Son has been doing the entire time, made himself useful under 5 different managers or however many it's been now. So shout out Ben Davis also for sticking it out. If you want to pit him against Eric Dyer, who also, well, we didn't really want Eric Dyer, but someone who was here for equally as long and left to win a trophy. But yeah, no, I think Son is the glue of everything. I do think there's still fair discussions about like, because I do want to get to Romero at some point, but like Romero with a captain's armband on is a different animal. And like, that has awakened something in me where I'm like, do we want to consider giving him, or if Son's going to come off the bench, let's make Romero captain to start the match, or, whatever that may look like. But Romero clearly was a different player with that captain's armband on the whole second part of the season here. And I'm very intrigued to see more of that if he wants to stay, I suppose. But yeah, Son, couldn't be happier for anyone. he let his emotions wear. I think that's another statue discussion, is him on his knees with Madison or it was Bentancur, I think, consoling him full time. That honestly, that might be up there for me of like trophy ideas of Son, collapsing in what's the word, ecstasy, if you will, but also crying his eyes out. That's honestly emblematic of the Tottenham experience, in my opinion. So that could be another interesting discussion. But incredible that he got to see it. And I think during the parade, he made a quick comment saying, how lucky was I that not only did this trophy happen, it happened when I was captain. So it's just like a really cool thing.
Yeah. No, all really well said, man. I love that. I think Bentancur celebrating with Son would be an awesome statue idea. I think it's also cool to point out, like, Bentancur said some absolute bullshit in an interview at the beginning of the season. We all know he was suspended for it.
It's fire. That is fire.
Yeah. Just like to have that moment. I think it says a lot about Bentancur to be able to own his mistake and make Sonny feel comfortable with what had happened, but also says a lot about Son, man. I think forgiveness is a pretty powerful thing. So I think that was just a cool moment all around for the club. And I think, again, it says a lot that Bentancur was the first to run straight to Sonny and make sure that he was able to celebrate with the leader of his team. And I agree with you on Romero too. The first thing I'll say, actually, I'm going to come to Max for that, but I'll just say this quick. I think Romero with an armband, I agree, is a different animal. I think he's much more composed and controlled in that leadership role. But we all probably know by now he was voted player of the season for the Europa League. Christian Romero is a world-class, the best player on our team, pound for pound, in my opinion, when it comes to the position that they play, a World Cup winner. But Max, what I want to come to you for, I'll just ask, it's more of a statement, but I'll kick it over to you. Christian Romero did not look like someone who's getting ready to walk away from Tottenham Hotspur over the past 48 hours.
No, he's looked like more overjoyed than almost anyone else on the team. His full-time reaction similar, collapse to the ground, just so happy in that moment. And yeah, dude, I think that's a great shout from Robbie. I mean, if Son's going to be coming off the bench like 50% of the games, like, Romero's your guy wearing the armband. Son starts, like, sure, like, give him the armband. But I think that decision by Ange is indicative of what's going to happen next season. It's going to be Son in more of a rotation role. Like, he's going to be 33. He's won his trophy now. Like, I think he's going to be super chill to just play that, like, Thomas Mueller is what I think of, like, that type of role. Like, you're not the guy anymore, but you're still going to help the team because you're obviously technically excellent. But Christian Romero, man of the match. I mean, the dude, he was in the head of Harry Maguire to a degree that I have never seen before. Like, the shithousery, it's just an art. Like, he knows how to fucking win, dude. And we need that. Like, I don't know if we get through this season without, like, a guy like him who has literally won the World Cup, the pinnacle of the sport. Like, we need a guy like that. And I think in the leadership role, he's a serial winner. He's never lost a cup final. And with him and Ange, who also has a great record in cup finals, I think those two are guys that, if we want to keep building this culture of winning, that we definitely have to look to. And I really, really hope he stays. I told Chang this at the beginning of the year. Whoever's winning man of the match in the final, if we win the final, I'm getting their jersey. They're all sold out of the fire-ass green third kit on the Spurs shop. So, we had to hit DH Gate, get the Romero kit. So that's probably coming in about 90 days. And hopefully
I got one coming too.
Yeah. Romero number 37 or some shit. No. But I got the Romero kit with the Europa League patch to celebrate his incredible performance in the Europa League this season. And I really hope he stays. If he doesn't, I'm still happy. Like, that's definitely the player that I want to remember from this season. If this is his last season, what a center back, dude. One of the all-time Tottenham greats. to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, I saw Mickey gave some interviews where he mentioned his partnership with Romero, and the way he was talking just made it seem like they are very close with each other. They like the more they play together, the more they understand everything. And then even during the parade today on the bus, I noticed a moment where Romero came over and put his arm around him, and they were both just kind of taking it all in together. So I see them as a partnership, and I hope that's part of his mentality of like, I got this great teammate next to me. Why would I want to go anywhere else on top of winning a trophy?
Well, and it's interesting because Atletico is interested, we know, in Romero. They're always gonna have to compete their asses off to have a shot at winning La Liga. I mean, it's just what it is, right? They could. Do I think they will? Probably not. And same thing with Champions League. Could they? Yeah. Will they? Probably not, right? And now he's a European Cup winner at Spurs, and so it changes everything. I mean, if we hadn't won a trophy this year, I would be like, good luck in Madrid, man. I totally get it. But like we're European champions. That has such a heavy weight to it when it comes down to where you want to play. The interesting thing too is we were awarded roughly $200 million for winning that match, right? Or what we will through Champions League next year, and then the match winnings, right? I think it's probably like 110 you make playing in the Champions League on average, and then the rest comes from the prize money from Wednesday's match. So $200 million it was injected into the coffers, as they would say over there.
War chest.
Dude, war chest, but honestly, more so than purchases, I want that invested into the wage structure. Like, that's what we need to spend a lot of that money on. Pay Christian Romero $300K a week. Fuck it. Do it. Like, why not at this point in time, right? He's on, I think, probably like 150, 160. He's going to get a big pay raise if he leaves Spurs. The way that money does talk. Like, I know as fans, we're like, oh, yeah, it's Real Madrid, blah, blah, blah. Money talks. Like, when this is their job, right? And you guys know this. I'm just talking out loud here. Just pay Romero $300K. Pay Mickey Van $250K. Pay, I don't know, the list goes on. You guys understand what I'm getting at here, right? That's how we attract top talent. It's the wage structure. So put this money into the wage structure, please, Daniel Levy. That's my little rant that I'll get out there. Now investments do need to be made. We talked about maybe being a little tighter up top, in my opinion, than I thought, but I think we need to invest in the sixth position. I think we need to invest in another center back for sure. And then
Do we?
I think so. I mean, I think Vuskovic looks a real talent, but I don't want us to be in another situation where our entire season hinges on a teenager. Like, I do think that there's a world where he can go back out on loan. That's not what I'm asking for, but I think if you really want to play big, you invest in another really talented center back, right? Van de Ven's going to get injured at some point. We'll call it the Harry Kane ankle at this point in time, right? So I think there could be some investment there. And then I low-key think there could be a conversation around goalkeeper.
I gotta bounce right now. Just some shout-outs before I go. Pedro Porro, 4,000 minutes on the season. Fucking class.
Wow.
Brennan Johnson, he's done it. Scott called it. We'll give him the goal. I don't know how they actually gave him that goal because it definitely was not his goal, but shout out to fucking Brennan, leading scorer on the season. We talked about Archie Bentancur, solid. Pap Sarr assist, absolutely fantastic performance from Sarr. Fantastic performance from Sarr, and that's one that's like earned him a big time role on next year's team. Udogie, like, he's elite. Like, Udogie's tops. James Maddison said coming to Tottenham, best decision he's ever made. That's my fucking guy. I love James Maddison. Basuma, this Europa League run from Basuma might be the best, most important purple patch I've seen from a Spurs player watching the team. I don't know what's going to happen with Basuma this summer, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's a hero. He was absolutely fantastic. Jed Spence, fucking what a guy, what a breakout this year. Davies, we talked about. Van de Ven, Romero, we obviously talked about. Yeah, so I think that's everyone I wanted to shout out. And then lastly, Mikey Moore, Calamola, Cisse, Demola, Ajayi, Dane, Scarlett, Will, Langshear. 4 of those 5 players scored. They all got medals, which is fucking sick. So I hope they all, or at least some of them, namely Mikey, Callum, sign contracts. And like, this is what it looks like to win at Spurs. So that's absolutely massive. What a fucking week for us, dude. We're going to be back. I'll be back. These two are going to continue breaking it down, but I'll be back. We'll all be back for the season review. I've got all our categories from the preview written down so we can see what we predicted. I'll tell you guys right now, we all predicted we were winning the Europa League, so shout out to us for manifesting this back in August.
Go.
That's fucking lit. But yeah, thank you guys. Peace out. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Yeah, Robbie, I do love all the shots from Max. I think Basuma's resurgence in the Europa League run was massive, without a doubt. I got to give this dude a little more love here. Brendan Johnson will pull him up on the screen. I mean, we'll get serious for a second. The dude had to shut all of his social media down earlier this season because of all the hate he was getting. And not only was he our leading scorer on the season, but he scored a winning goal in a European Cup final, which honestly, like I said it on a different show earlier in the week, but what, 0.5% of footballers get to experience that? Probably less than that, right? 0.25% of footballers. So Brendan Johnson is written in the history books of Tottenham Hotspur. But before we wrap, man, there's one person we haven't talked at all about yet that we absolutely have to have a conversation around, and that's the big man himself, Big Ange Postecoglou. I'm going to come out and say right away, I had gravitated towards thinking it was probably time to move on from Ange. Even if we had won this trophy, I couldn't have taken a harder 180. I'm so Ange in at this point in time. And I understand it probably looks like, oh, we won something. You saw him lift a trophy. Cool, blah, blah, blah. But he showed us so much about who he was over the last 48 hours, coming out and saying, look, we knew that we were out of the running for the league. We knew in our hearts we could win this competition. I did pretty much set to the Premier League to the side and put all of my eggs in the Europa League basket. And we performed pretty well in every game throughout the run. And I think the first leg against Alkmaar and the first leg against Alkmaar was not good. And the first leg against Frankfurt was okay. We talked about it, right? We drew at home. But beyond that, we played super well in every one of these knockout matches through the final. So yeah, I'm Ange in. I look at us as a club who probably won't win the Premier League, maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years. I don't know what I want to say, right? But I'm not banking on us to win Premier League titles. I think we should be competing for top 4 every year. But with Ange at the helm, I think we can win trophies. I think he's a knockout dude. And we need to keep winning trophies. I want an FA Cup now, etc. Right? So I think Ange can do that for us. And it's clear that the players are so bought into him and everything that he does. And I think I'm starting to believe a little bit more and more that this season in the league was just kind of a fluke. So anyways, I'm ranting right now, but I want to give you the floor to talk about Ange.
Yeah, I mean, I think more than anybody on this pod or even in our group chat, I've always been the most positive Ange supporter this whole time. But even I was starting to get shaken. And like, I never said I wanted him gone, but I got to the point where it's like, I understand if it happens.
Yeah.
But like, I was still like, who's going to be better? Like, who are we going to get that's better than him? And obviously everyone won't stop talking about Pochettino, but like, I just don't see it. And now that we have a trophy, I think that conversation is way out the window of like, why would he be a better fit? And I think I honestly, I believe I knew this when we hired Ange, and he knew this, and he wasn't allowed to say this, but like, you have to know, when we hired Ange, he was in a room with Daniel Levy, and Daniel Levy says, I don't care what happens, you need to win us a trophy. Like, we have to know that was the mandate when we hired Ange, was it doesn't matter what happens anywhere else as long as you win a trophy, because this is the monkey on our back. It needs to be gone. Now we can go back to finishing top 4 and not winning trophy, whatever, like as long as now we can make that money back and pay for the stadium and get our debt down or whatever. But like, you have to know his number one job was win a trophy at all costs.
Yep.
And as a manager, you're not allowed to say that, because then people will stop buying tickets to your Premier League matches. So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
he couldn't come out and say it, but like we had to know this was always part of the plan. Is like we need to focus on trophies. And to be fair, I think a lot of the frustration we felt with Ange this year was him in a way pointing out the obvious, is that we don't have a big enough roster of players
Yeah.
to be competitive in 4 competitions at the same time.
Yep.
And so that's why we really suffered in the league. And that's why, I mean, we actually were surprisingly competitive in the other cups, to be honest.
Yeah, we were.
But like, it was Ange's subtle way saying, hey, Mr. Levy, we can't do what you want me to do and be competitive everywhere unless you buy me more players. So that's why I think one is a big reason we need to keep him, is because now we're probably going to buy him more players, and then we actually get to see what he will look like, I think, more progressively across multiple competitions. I think I've said this from day one too, using that phrase over and over, that like Mourinho questioned the mentality of the players at Tottenham, Conte questioned the board, and Ange started questioning the fans, the media, the perception of Tottenham.
Yep.
And he's ripped all of that to shreds, and every single player in here believes in him. And if we were to fire him, I think that absolutely destroys everything that we just built.
Agreed.
Like it will destroy everything, and people won't have that same magic. They won't have that same belief. They won't, like, it doesn't matter who, because first of all, unless we hire Arne Slot or, like, we're not hiring anybody that is going to be better at this stage of our development than him. And yeah, maybe next year we end up looking like crap in one of the competitions, maybe the Premier League, maybe the whatever. But to what you said earlier, I think as a realistic Spurs fan, my number one hope for Tottenham next season is winning the FA Cup. Like, that's where all of my eggs are in that basket.
Same.
If maybe we'll finish 5th, maybe we'll finish 4th, great, don't care. And knockout stage of Champions League, that's just, if we do that and no further, that's a win in my book.
100%.
But I think between the two available domestic cups, FA Cup is the more attractive one in my opinion. So I would love us to win that one. And if we can finish 5th, 6th, 7th, and the FA Cup gets us into Europa anyway, right? Or which one does that get us into?
Yeah.
I think the FA Cup is where I want my eggs next year. And then, buy 2 to 3 proven players, inject them into the squad. A defender, people are still bringing up Eberechi Eze. Like, maybe he's an option. But again, if we do tell, it probably doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But a proven 6, a proven defender, whatever. And then let's let it rip. And guess what? If we end up firing him midway through next season because it's terrible, who cares? It's fine. We gave it a shot. That magic isn't, again, it's all about the perception. If we fire him now, every player will be like, what the hell just happened? Like, no one will be supportive of it. And it will cause this massive rift in our club, in the locker room. Everybody seems to be on his wagon. So I say, let's keep it going. And his contract is still valid for a couple more years. So let's, he can't walk away on his own unless he decides to resign, I suppose. But he said he doesn't want to do that. Last shout, I'll say, if you haven't already, everybody that's listening, and Scott, you too, if you haven't, go watch his 12-minute post-match interview after the Europa League final. That's where he dropped that quote about, mate, I'm a winner. He goes to battle for the club, for the Spurs, for Spurs, saying he is well invested in this project. He wants to see it forward. He thinks they're just getting started. Every gas up term you want to hear, he drops. And then at the end, I think arguably the third coldest thing he's ever said. The first coldest thing is, I always win trophies in my second season. Second coldest thing he's ever said is, mate, I'm a winner. The third coldest thing he ever said was signing off for what maybe was his last press conference in Europe as the Spurs manager was, que sera, sera. So he's like, whatever, I'm going to go on vacation on Monday and que sera, sera. So
and he came out today. Maybe you mentioned this already, so sorry if it's a repeat, but he came out and said, in every television series, the third episode or the third season is better than the second, is what he said today during the parade, right? So it seems like he's definitely sticking around. I love everything you said. I think kind of back to the wage structure I talked about earlier, until we just aggressively revamp the wage structure, I don't think we're going to attack the talent or the depth to consistently win Premier League titles. Top 4 is great. Champions League, top 5, whatever it is now, is great, right? Like, it's always exciting, but we qualified for the Champions League 5 years in a row, have jack shit to show for it, no Premier League titles. After this experience this week, I don't even care about qualifying for the top 4. Like, I just want to win trophies. I want to experience this every year. So whatever, finish 5th, finish 6th. I want to hover around Europe always, right? Like, give me the Europa League at least. And maybe that's a lot to ask for on top of this, the rest of this rant, right? But if we can consistently be in the Europa League, which I think we pretty much compete for anytime we're in it, right? And then we do qualify for Champions League every other year, every third year. I want us to make runs in them. Like, don't get knocked out of the league phase, right? But I'm not asking for Champions League titles. I'm not asking for Premier League titles. I'm asking for consistent FA Cups, consistent Europa Leagues, and then maybe we eventually sprinkle a Champions League or a Premier League title in there. But that's going to, again, come with wage structure, because you cannot attract enough talent right now paying them half the wages of Man United, half the wages of Man City, half the wages of even Arsenal, right? A third of the wage of Real Madrid and Barcelona. So there's just a lot we have to do, but winning is awesome. Just give me some trophies. I don't care where they come from. And all that to say, I think Ange Postecoglou is a guy who's going to have a chance of winning you a trophy every year, every other year. We look at the Carabao Cup semifinals. We came up against the third best team in the world, in my opinion, after Barcelona and PSG. At the time, people would argue they were probably the best team in the world when we came up against them in the semifinal of the Carabao Cup. We had Dragoshin and Archie Gray as our center back pairings at that point in time, right? So tough break, but I don't fault us for getting knocked out of that. And then if you look at the FA Cup, quarterfinals, I believe, is where we got knocked out. But that was against Aston Villa, who were super hot at the time. I mean, I think they were on a 6 or 7 game win streak in the Premier League when we came up against them. And that was days after we'd been knocked out of a semifinal in heartbreaking fashion. So,
well, and wasn't that match like 1-0 until like the 85th minute when they made it 2-0? Like, we were in it the whole time. And we had a terrible lineup. I'm pretty sure we had a really gross lineup that game, because even still, like, it was probably still like Kinski or Austin or somebody in goal. Like, it couldn't have been Vicario yet, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was Kinski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's my, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, in a season wrap and preview, but like, I'm already in my head. I'm like, FA Cup's the goal next year. I don't care about anything else. That's what I want to see happen.
100%. Keep stacking the trophies. You just, and said it in his interview with Golazo Network after the match with CBS, where he said, when you're a nearly club, you just need to win that first trophy and the floodgates open, which I'm paraphrasing, but I think we can all agree. And players said it today on the bus during the parade. We want this feeling again, right? We've now had this taste of glory. Romero's tasted it, and I think that's why this meant so much to him, is he's been there before, and it felt good to get back, right? And the rest of the team's going to follow suit. So yeah, I back us to go and win another cup next year. Let's call it the FA Cup. We'll get the early season predictions in for next year right now. But yeah, just wonderful week to be a Spurs fan. Wonderful time to be Seattle Spurs. Before we wrap, we got some homework to take care of, right? We got to knock out the admin. Please make sure at some point in the next week or so, you get a chance to thank the bar staff, the wait staff at all 3 of our pubs that supported us all year. Please make sure, if you're able to thank Steve Smiley for all the work that he does behind the scenes to make Seattle Spurs happen. It does not just happen. I promise you that, people. Steve puts in a lot of work. He runs the Gmail. He's constantly coordinating openings. Linda, too. Linda, we love you. Everything that you do down south to make sure we have a nice, cozy place to watch Spurs matches. We appreciate you very much. When you're at one of the pubs, and again, just for those who don't know, it's the Wits End up top, up north rather, in the Finney Ridge area, and then down south, we spend most of our time at Cascades. We also spend time at Rainier Growlers, both in Puyallup. But yeah, get down to one of those pubs. Make sure you thank them. Tip your bartenders well. Please follow us. We are at Lilywhite on all social media platforms. You can follow me at Scotchy Bird. You can follow Robbie at Robbie_Light. You can follow Max at Going Limbs. You can find Alex at Alex Chang. That's with an X instead of an A on all social media platforms. Most importantly, you can follow Seattle Spurs at Seattle Spurs on all social media platforms. Please do sign up to the Gmail list. It's really helpful, not only for us to know who's involved in our group, but most importantly for you to make sure that you have everything in your inbox. That's watch parties, holiday parties, Spurs content, you name it, you're going to have everything you need sent to your inbox. Again, thanks to Steve for doing that. So please sign up for the Gmail at seattlespurs@gmail.com. Shoot us a note. We'll get you on the list. But for myself, for Robbie, for Max, for Chang, for Keegan, who wasn't able to make it today, for everybody at Seattle Spurs, we appreciate everyone who's been rocking with us through episode 46. Congrats to every single one of you for being a European Cup winner. Come on, you Spurs.